While there is a government agency entrusted to protecting the environment, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, there are no federal mandatory recycling programs or laws. I am arguing that there should be a national law for mandatory recycling. A national mandatory recycling law would not only protect the environment, it would also create more jobs. Recycling is one of the most common of all environmentally beneficial activities, National Resource Defense Council 2012. Creating a national mandatory recycling law would help the environment, specifically the land that we live on and the water that sustains us. One benefit of recycling is that it helps reduce the impact on the earth. By recycling paper, we save the trees that provide a natural way to cleanse the air. We produce less air and water pollution in the recycling process than by cutting down trees to make paper. By recycling plastics, we will reduce a significant amount of marine litter. According to the National Resource Defense Council, plastic accounts for 60 to 80% of marine litter. Plastic bottles not only end up on our shores, it also destroys coral reefs and aquatic animals. Plastic that ends up in waterways is sometimes mistaken for food by fish, which is bad for our well-being because the fish that eats the plastic is the fish we eat. Not only does recycling protect the environment, it can also be used to create more jobs. In a report by the TELUS Institute, it is estimated that recycling 75% of the nation's waste will create nearly 1.5 million jobs by 2030. Jobs created through recycling include collection, hauling, and processing, as well as manufacturing products and the associated distribution and sales of these newly created products. In addition to creating more jobs, our nation could reduce emissions by 276 million metric tons, which is the equivalent of eliminating emissions from 72 coal-fired power plants or taking 50 million cars off the road, both of which protect our environment. As can be seen by the above information and statistics, recycling will help many things: the earth, humans, and animals that use the water, and the environment. While recycling is good for the environment, it is not necessarily a cheap alternative to implement. One could argue that the most harm would be to the low-income members of society who would be required to pay for recycling services. Initial implementation costs would be high for the average citizen, but these costs could be mitigated by the increased tax revenues generated by the new jobs. With a national mandatory recycling program, the government could also offer tax incentives for the collection companies, thus reducing the cost to the average citizen. Another argument against recycling can be seen by the Panama City Beach Recycling Program. Panama City Beach has a voluntary recycling program. In this program, the city does not do curbside collection and only offers 2 drop-off collection points. The citizens who contribute their products to be recycled may be under the mistaken impression that they are doing something good for the environment. So Panama City Beach actually takes the recycling to the local incinerator. At the incinerator, the recyclables are used to produce electricity that is then sold to the citizens of Panama City Beach. The incineration processes generate electricity, but it also creates air pollution. Even though this is what Panama City Beach does with their recycling program, this is done for fiscal reasons. Because there is not enough voluntary recycling to cover the costs associated with hauling the recyclables to a true recycling plant, Panama City Beach sells it to Gulf Power to be used as fuel for the incinerator that produces electricity. By having a mandatory recycling program, enough recycling materials could be collected to defray the cost to transport the material to a true recycling plant, thus helping the environment, not corporations. A national mandatory recycling law will not only protect the environment, It would also create more jobs. This can be accomplished at little cost to the average consumer, thus removing a barrier to incorporation of recycling. The creation of a national mandatory recycling program is a way to make recycling inexpensive for consumers, profitable for recyclers and manufacturers, all while being good for the environment.